Solidity gets message.sender from the signature, right?
It's from the
transaction.
It's a special type. The address type has those qualities on it. So it's kind of like this bundled data.
Right. Solidity's abstracting, but on the bytecode level, I'm assuming that when you get a transaction, which is being built by some client or somewhere, that I'm assuming is probably from the signature.
Well, when you get into Solidity, you'll have this special type called address. It has properties to it. It has value. It has sender. It has call.
What is sender?
Message.sender. So it has message in it, and you get message.sender, which is what address is attached to this.
Mm-hmm. So you know what address is by looking at message.sender.
Right.
Right.
So it's like a reference.
But when you remember in the earlier weeks how we had kind of broken into the bytecode level of like what is a transaction built of, and you have these fields, the to, right? You have a data field, right? But yeah, you have value, and then I don't think there was a from. There was just a signature.
That's part of the transaction, but you don't necessarily have to fill it out. It's there though. It would just be
it's
two with the blank or something.
Yeah.
From is technically just give through the whoever
If you don't
signed
fill
the
it in,
transaction.
it would be the signer.
So when a minor node gets this transaction, and it has like a data field in there, it has this protocol of like saying, all right, let me run this in an EVM environment on the smart contract code and all that, right? And it's kind of like concatenating this data and then running the program. And so when the program's running, message.sender is from that transaction data that was created, which obviously has to be signed. I'm sure the minor node is going to check the signature. It's like, if there's no signature or the signature is invalid, it's not even going to process it. It's going to halt right there. It's not even going to run in the Solidity code. So we can say confidently that message.sender is secure, is what I'm trying to make a point.
Yeah.
So in your contract, when you use message.sender to say, okay, let me move that person's balance, I'm confident that that person is the transaction, the person that created the transaction. But at the end of the day, we're just moving data around. We're just making data changes.
So I want to be very clear on that move part.
Oh yeah.
It's not moving.
You're
just updating balances.
Yeah.
If I'm sending, I don't know how to spell it.
No, it's Germano, right?
Germano, very close, and I scribbled it. I'm gonna send something to Germano. It doesn't go from my wallet to Germano's wallet.
It just changes like sort of like the state
-1 +1. That's all that's happening.
So is it possible that, like, if you, for example, send Germano 1 ETH or 1 USDC
tokens? We're just dealing with tokens right
now. 1
now.
USDC, that like somewhere through the transaction, let's say like something crashes, and then it takes away from your 1, but never gives him his 1.
So this is what your question was in the Discord. You have to separate the concern of resources that are paid for operational codes and a token balance. So this is data in a contract. You have to send gas to do all the executions, right? And we're going to get into, I don't really go into gas next week, but next week is all like the EVM stuff.
Okay.
The EVM is just a machine, it's a computer, and that you have to pay for every execution.
Sure.
If anything fails, you don't get any of that execution money back.
You don't get that execution money back, but you sent that transaction. Oh, okay, so that transaction won't even, so it won't even subtract from your, it wouldn't even change the state for your.
It won't change state. It will revert all that. So
it will revert
if it doesn't finish.
Okay.
It won't. So,
but you don't get the money you paid to
but you don't get the gas back.
Right.
Gas back.
But that's also if your fail point is during execution time of your transaction. If the fail point for your transaction is that your signature is invalid, the miner's going to ignore and reject it at that point. And that's not going to, it's not going to run it. It's not going to charge the gas or like take ETH away. It's not going to put it in a block, which is the state chain, right? It's not going to do that because it's like you're fraud. You don't really own this address. I'm going to ignore you. You're spamming. So that's the distinction I'm going to make.
This is the first. This is hopefully, and we probably didn't make this clear because it's really hard. You really need to chew on it for a while. But this is the first week. Was you have a private key, which is a big secret number,
Yeah.
and and the only way that you can tell everybody else that you wanted a transfer or something to
Right.
happen is you sign that cryptographically, and then the miners will recover
First, your
it.
signature has to be valid,
Right.
and then you have to have enough gas for the transaction to go.
Well,
through.
signature has to be valid. Nonce has to be correct. Right.
There's a whole validation on the
There's a
transaction that
whole
has to be done before miners even going to say, I'm gonna mine this from
From
the
the,
Now let's.
okay.
And once it's mined into a block, state does change, and that would be gas, not saying I'm not saying smart contract state, but state on the blockchain, which will be how much ETH is now changed for that address,
For that address.
and how much gas was used, when was it
But
mined.
at that point, even if it's mined, you could still be, transactions could be reverted.
So
it
when
could
you
be,
say,
like I said, a transaction,
so when
Okay.
when you say reverted, the transaction was mined, it's not taken out of the blockchain, it's in the
Yeah.
blockchain, but the execution of it was reverted.
was reverted.
Meaning as it was running the smart contract code, it didn't
realized.
complete, something
Yeah.
errored, and none of the contract state was changed, but other chain state,
But
remember
other
there's like multiple tries inside the
Try,
blockchain?
yeah.
Okay.
There's like the receipt tree or try, and then, I can't remember.
Receipt, transaction, or sorry, receipt, I think is a transaction. There's also the events.
So one of the
trials.
trees would change, but the rest of the trees,
Mhm.
the receipt tree would probably be unchanged, right? Nothing
The
was-
receipt tree would probably be
If the
changed.
transaction got in there, it would change it. It's just the contract state, like the
Oh,
state
the contract,
HRV.
the contract state was.
So if I did this, I made a transaction into A,
Sure.
A went to B, C, D. Something in here failed.
Right.
I didn't have a balance enough to move those
Sure.
transfer the tokens. What happens is,
It goes back all the way to.
yeah, but this could be a successful transaction. It could say success. But what happened was you didn't bubble back the revert. It would just say you had a successful transaction, but this state didn't change because you reverted here.
That's if you have calls from contract to contract.
multi-chain calls.
Okay.
You
So-
won't know unless you take care to say, all right, whatever happens here, not multi-chain.
Multi-contract.
That's like the chain of contracts, but
Oh, yeah.
not. We're all on
Not
Ethereum
one
here, but
chain.
let's say multi-contract call.
Okay.
What's really shitty is if this fails, no state would change, but your transaction looks good because this transaction is okay.
Right. So you have to walk all the way back
So
after D.
you would, I don't know who did this, but I'm taking it over, but if success, or if
then you
not
revert.
success, revert. If you don't do this, revert. If you don't do this here, this would be a successful transaction.
Oh,
It didn't
even if
change-
it failed on D.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Remember the bool
Full success.
S
Success, yeah.
equals, then you're
The
like,
call, right?
yeah, call. So if this wasn't checked with a require afterwards, then we would have state changes?
Yeah, you would say, oh, you're good.
Yeah, you're good
But
because
you didn't,
you
you're not-
failed way over there.
So
and
you need
wouldn't
a
know.
chain, if you're chaining.
That's
That
so
one sucks.
sketchy. Yeah.
That one sucks.
So
That's
how
why
common
the
is
lender-
it to go from contract A to contract B to contract C to contract B?
How what?
How common is that? Is that like a pretty?
Well,
that's pretty common?
if you look at the DeFi space, they do this all the time.
They do
The
all the
money Legos will say, well, I'm going to try and get a good price on a swap. I might have to use,
5.
maybe I use
Five
five
swaps.
different swap contracts to do that.
Interesting. Okay.
And the flash loans, you can see
Yeah.
these with flash loans. Like if you see a whole bunch of calls, like it called all these things, and then it successfully ran. Like somebody did a really nice flash loan swap,
Yeah.
like made a bunch of money. But you also see those where they fail, and it's like, oh, you actually ran out, you violated something. And this is just really a subtle thing. Is you could have something that looked like it went through, and then you go and check, and you're like, oh wait, why didn't it change?
So I don't. Should I not also have it for C too and for B and
So
for A?
you might not control these.
Oh.
You only
okay. I
control
only
this
control
one.
A, and I'm interacting with B. C,
Yeah.
D.
So
Could
you
be
want to
a
say
lot there, you
this
know?
could even work. You could have a success here. It says I'm good. This doesn't relay.
Yeah,
This
that's a
one.
bug in
Yeah.
this contract.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh,
So
interesting.
that's this is where you get really complicated. But I just
That's
wanted to
crazy.
give you the idea that when you're changing things like a token balance, not ETH, but
Yeah,
token balance,
balance.
you're just like updating a database of entry database, right?
Okay.
So there's no coins going in and out of wallets or anything like this. This is just a metaphor to try to give people the idea. Yeah, you're changing state.
I mean,
if it all goes as
As well.
I mean, an extension to that from a computer science standpoint, MV Linux command move a file isn't moving any file.
Right.
It's just mutating your database of your file system. Basically saying this address now points here.
All right, it's 111. Does anybody want to do anything in particular, or are you guys
Tests.
whatever you want? You want to do the
Test,
unit
yeah.
testing? So maybe we can look at. Well, I'll roll one up here myself, and then maybe we can. Namgar, did you get that?
I never got that to work.
Okay, so maybe we can get that working before we go. We were working with this authorizer contract last time, so let's just work with that. And I'm not going to give you answers. We're just going to do it together.
What is the? Do I have to bring up the previous project?
Do I? Do I have it? Where is it?
Week 4. Unit tests, I think.
Weren't we on remix?
Yeah,
Right.
actually you're right. Okay, so I was actually just gonna spin it up cold here. ETH SD, totally. Okay, let's just do, let's make, everybody make a new folder for, we're gonna do Hardhat and then we're gonna do Foundry if y'all have Rust installed. So let's just do, you can do whatever you want. I'm just gonna do unit testing and we go in there. Okay, how do we do a new, Hardhat project?
Hardhat.
It's like MPX Hardhat
That's
init or something?
I think it's just Hardhat.
Hardhat, but do we name it something?
Or wait.
Well, we want to name it. Oh, you're saying like
That's-
init into it? Yeah, let's just make something here. Okay, so I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make a directory called authorizer Hardhat, and then npx Hardhat. We saying?
Yeah. So authorizer is what we're doing.
Oh, whatever you want. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, here we go. And however you want to make that.
Make directory. We're calling it. Week 5.
No, this isn't it because this is installed. So don't I want to do like in? Oh, okay. It did. You're right. You're right. Is everybody with me? Yeah. David, how do you want to be with us?
Yeah,
Is it
I'm
good?
with you.
You're good. Okay. Adrian.
Okay. Authorizer
Here.
here. We're doing
Yeah, I'm kind of just.
MPX.
Do you want to be with us, or are you just gonna float?
Watch.
Oh yeah, I'm flowing with you guys.
Okay. Are you
Yeah.
with us then? You got
He's just watching, I think.
Yeah, I'm just watching.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I'm gonna do TypeScript because it's more annoying, but it's better for us. And give me all the good stuff, right? I could have just ran the flag Y. I think. Did you show us that? Anyway.
Yeah, the fun way.
We're all smashing the internet at the same time. So the one thing that's kind of, you'll see the footprint of Foundry versus Hardhat is they're different. I actually think Foundry is a little heavier, but it's a lot faster. But I don't know, they download a bunch of GAC. Both of them do. So I'm gonna, like I think Adrian said, we're gonna go over to Remix and I'm gonna grab that authorizer. And if we don't have it, I guess I could push it if y'all want to copy and paste if you don't have it, but we should use the one that we did last time.
Is there like a place to for like checking to see like the things you can do with like unit testing?
For
Like to kind of just like Mocha track.
For,
Like
Hardhat?
looking up looking up documentation.
I mean, no, that's why it's so crappy. It's like there's not really, you can, so I have up the testing from Hardhat, but it's
Yeah.
very generic, right?
Yeah,
Just
it's
like-
very like.
it's where to go?
There's also so many options like 2.e
Right.
dot and then like 15.
That I think is what Sam's referring to, the Mocha chai.
Yeah.
Like what you can do
If
in
you
chai.
Google Mocha, it's gonna be an old like 2005 website. It's like it's just early JavaScript library, so your documentation is not gonna give you any fancy like TypeScript definitions or anything like that. But yeah, you can get information on Mocha, and that's the test runtime. And then there's Chai, is a separate library, optional. You don't have to use it, but people use Mocha and Chai together. And it's an assertion library. It doesn't run your tests. It's just functions that allow you to, in a descriptive way, assert the state of your current run.
That's what Chai does?
That's what Chai does. It gives you the expect, it gives you assert, it gives you
Oh, okay. So that's what
Yeah.
expect.
that, then it gives you other like utilities and stuff. A whole other API of like extending it with your own assertion functions, which
Yeah.
is what Hardhat does.
Right.
So you kind of get a bunch of like libraries.
Hardhat just shows you like the assert. That's all kind of all they. I think, or a fail too. I think. But I mean, expect. They're just using expect.
They're just using expect. That's not okay.
Expect. Oh, there is one here. Expect balance of 2 equal. You know, they are running through that stuff. I guess I'm thinking of fail is Foundry because they do have a fail. I can expect one fail. Anyway, we'll just walk through this. I'm going to copy my old code. Does everybody have that? Do you want me to make that available?
I'm posting mine just in case on week 6 channel. Is that right? This is what I have
in the Discord.
Yeah.
Great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just bring up VS Code in the Hardhat file or the Hardhat directory that we just made and edited. Right. Nothing special yet. None of this is actually anything special. It's just we're going to figure it out. Talk about unit testing.
Get rid of the greeter contract, I guess.
It's you can leave it. The thing that's annoying is it'll lock. Do you have the lock, right? Greeter or
Why
lock?
do I have greeter?
Did you just make one?
Yeah.
Which hard hat are you? 212 7? I just grabbed it. It's up to you. I'm just gonna make a new one. I'm gonna keep lock in there. I'm gonna say authorizer.sol. This is our code, right? And then we're gonna go into tests and we're gonna make a new. What do we say? Authorizer. Same thing. Authorizer.
2.9.6 is what I'm using.
2.9. Okay, that's probably why you have it.
The newer one?
There is 212.
Oh,
I'm running 212.
I remember.
Anybody else running?
I think I'm running 212. Because I get the lock.
All right, so Sam, let me know if you want us to stop working. No, we're gonna just make our own new one. All right, so this is their test file for lock, and lock uses a time component, which we're not gonna be using. So we can just take like some of this, and I would say probably up to the first describe is probably something we can craft together. So we're gonna describe authorizer. Does everybody know how the Mocha testing framework works? You're stepping through these functions.
Oh yeah, that
For describe and then its. Your its are your tests. Your actual unit tests. All right. So are we all here then? I don't need this. I don't need this. We'll keep signers. We'll do this factory and we'll return. Okay, so we want authorizer, get authorizer, and well, now Sam made the point that you don't necessarily have to redeploy every contract, but we're going to just no good reason.
One reason to do that though would be to if you want to reset state for each unit test.
for each unit test.
Like if it's a new deployed contract, it means it's default state. The test isn't overlapping with the previous test.
Right.
I would say typically you'd want to do that just because you don't want to deal with previous state, but I mean, as long as you're aware of that's what's happening. Sometimes it's really, you get really confused on the, did we run it before?
Before each?
Yeah, before each. I guess we're not here. You can do it before each. That would reset, put you
Oh,
back.
reset.
That's a Mocha.
Yeah, but we're not doing it here, so that's fine. Okay, so basically, why is it clean? Expected. paren, oh, it just wants.
The describe.
Yeah, where's my?
The very
describe? I
last.
guess it's here.
After, isn't it? Okay, backwards. There.
Yeah. So this is the last image.
Okay, so what are we testing here?
Okay, so what are we bringing in now? Is it the case that we don't have any? Sorry, we're going right here now. Is it the case that our constructor doesn't take anything? Correct. It just takes the owner, right? And the owner is pulled off of this magic message. Yeah. So the message has some properties on it: address, value, things like this. So we're pulling the sender off of message.
So if I wanted to
You don't have
test,
to raise your hand. We can-
sorry, if I wanted to test deploying a contract with not message.sender, like I wanted to change who the message.sender is, how do you just do connect OLS, like contract?
So you're
.connect?
saying, well, there's two issues, or let's pull it apart. Do you want the message.sender not to be the owner, or do you want to change who that owner is?
If I want to change, like let's say I created a contract that has like an owner, and then there's a function that says change owner. Or actually no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we can do, we'll get to that, because we need to test,
Okay.
add authorizer, right? So we're
Yeah.
gonna wanna add. So, do y'all know this, this thing here where they, so you only do two. You can do, const addresses equals await signers. I think this is a thing, and then you like for, let a of addresses. Is this a thing? Identify MPX Hardhat test. No, what did we do?
You misspelled Hardhat.
Always. Always do hard hat. Cannot be compiled. Oh, I gotta stick in 18 and
17?
I think this one is locked to 18, so we go here and
Oh, that's why I just changed it. Okay, so I gotta go to config.
and we'll download it. Right? These are all the things where like no one tells you this, or you gotta like spend an hour.
That's in config.
It's not in any of the videos.
Yeah.
Videos.
So if you also have multiples, the compiler will yell at you, or you know if you're trying to run this on 18 or 17 or whatever, and you want multiple compilers, you'll have to say, tell Hardhat download multiple compilers because I'm gonna try this with 18, I'm gonna try it with 17. So it didn't do, because I have to do this. Is this a thing? VB? Is this a thing in Hardhat? How do I get the, no it doesn't like that. How do I
Dash
get,
dash, and then space, and then like,
I wanna get the
do dash dash, space, dash dash verbose.
this is a Foundry thing.
Yeah, you take like.
How do I get the
Foundry.
console.log to run? I thought this was a thing.
It should run by default, actually.
Oh, you know why? It's because this isn't running. Describe, let's test, or let's print addresses. You know, this nomenclature with these big arrows, I don't have to write function in there, right? And maybe it's an asynchronous. Okay, and then what do we want to do? We want to do like it should print. This isn't even a test. I'm just trying to print it out. This should print out the addresses. Call. What do we do? Call this thing. Literally all these things. Okay, so you do the fixture.
Wait, why was it not running before? Because it wasn't in an in.
Because I'm not calling.
There's no test to run.
Yeah, I didn't actually engage this right here. There's nothing doing. So I'm actually gonna say instead of so fixture, let's just say deploy authorizer fixture. So nothing ran that, and that's a problem there. And then we're returning authorizer owner in another account. So I'm gonna do the same thing here. Authorizer, and then owner, and So when we do this, why? Now you know why they like already have all this stuff pre-done. When they show you on the videos because nobody wants to do this. All right. So it didn't give me the it gave me the signers.
You have to put a dot address in
Yeah,
here.
dot address. So that's
So this
actually
is-
rename addresses to signers, just to be a nitpick.
This one right here.
Yeah.
So this is
Right click.
13.
Okay, whatever you want.
20 years of programming.
Yeah, you can do whatever you guys want. So these are signers, which are nice because they can actually make transactions. So this is a way you can get access to all of them. And I think you can dump the node when Hardhat spins up Ganache in the backend. I think you can dump that. Like you can run that in another console and have it interact.
Oh, okay.
So you can dump it and see. I think it gives you 20 addresses.
Yeah.
And so these are all when you
they
dump
have-
the node, it gives you the private keys too.
So let's say you were doing the escrow contract and then you wanted to call give those funds to the depositor. How do I make the message.sender be the arbiter?
So you're gonna
With
you
my
have to
unit test.
you have to connect.
Okay, so it's
Like you have to
connect.
attach and connect.
Okay.
Like attach attach a contract and then connect a signer,
Yeah.
and then you'll be that.
And then the
Yeah.
message and will be that. Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
All right. I don't think we'll have time to like really do some verbose testing, but you could do that. You could say, okay, this particular contract does have a change owner, so
Dot connect this address.
yeah. I think is it in this one? I mean, we can just.
I think it's like the contract name dot connect, and then yeah, there it is. Other account. 978.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Nice. Okay, there. Yeah. So we're connecting this one. I think didn't you have to do that for one of the
Yeah.
week 5 games?
Yeah, you have to like connect to an account that's like not the owner, and then
To the middle window.
yeah.
Is that the one? Yeah.
All right. So let's do a test. What's the first test we could do? This is where we would just determine how do we test this
Let me
contract.
see.
What's the first test we could do?
So authorize.
It doesn't take anything, so we can't test anything that we give it. But what does it do? What is the first thing in the constructor?
We can check the authorizer.
Check authorizer.
We-
No, we need
What's
to add
the-
authorizer.
what is in the constructor? That is the first thing that
Check to see if
Owner is the message.
the deployer is gets
Yeah,
saved as the owner.
So I guess what we would do for that is
However you guys want to do it. I don't think we
use
need
a
to.
const that says
Making-
owner, contract owner is equal to await I don't have authorizer. No. Authorizer
authorizer dot
owner, call that.
is equal to message dot sender.
It should. Then you have to like figure out how to phrase these things so they make sense. It should have the deployer at the or something like this, right? And all that, and then we say expect, or I guess we have to deploy this thing, right? Or did it get deployed? It already
deployed,
deployed.
right?
So we have authorizer right there, right? So you say something like expect.
Contract owner.
Authorizer or owner.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can rename obviously if you want to rename them to be more generic. Like in one of them, I think for the bucket thing, I renamed owner to deployer because it was a deployer. So you want owner to be what is it to
be
or whatever what do they do?
Dot equals.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, so it's right here. To be or
You can just do dot equals.
dot. Let's make it as simple as possible. So it's expect owner dot
equals
equals. Yeah. And then what? How do we get it?
authorizer dot owner.
Await it.
Yeah, we need to wait it or I won't do it. Right. Okay, right.
Wouldn't it be owner dot address?
Owner, yeah, owner dot.
Thank you.
What was the?
Well, let's see. Right. Yes, you're right. But what happens if we're wrong? It explodes on us, right?
How did you fix the pragma issue? I'm having that.
So in the Hardhat config, there should be a Solidity compile. So this means it's what compiler are you using? Did it not work?
Mine's more complicated. I don't know why. How do I use it
You
right?
can use more of them though. You can use like it's just telling Hardhat to download it.
Yeah, but I changed that.
What happens is well, are you using are your contracts? What are you running? No, but what do you're running tests? Are there contracts in here? I don't know. It's just offer. Oh wait, but does Greeter have a different pragma?
I don't
It's
have
not in
it
here, right? Oh, okay, but you're using something. Not either change it to 17 there or change it to try. Hopefully that works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm
Alright.
assuming I could use like above.
You can use multiple. I mean,
Like
you just-
I can use assembly.
You can use what?
Semver in the config.
Semver?
Semantic version. Semver the little
Oh,
all that in.
Oh, that's a good question.
I don't know.
I don't know. I
It's
mean, I
working.
think it's explicit to say like which compiler are you downloading because it's got to download them to run them.
So
Okay, so as Adrian said, we need dot address here to make that work. But this is kind of like what we would. This is how we would walk through the entire contract. And we got a passing test there, right? So it says constructors should have saved the deployer as the owner for sure. Yes. There's no like secrets here. It's just all the little like quirky things that don't work when you try to do it when no one else is around.
yeah.
And why doesn't this work? Why doesn't that work?
Okay.
So we could go back into authorizer and then we could say, well, what's the next thing? You know, we have to test events. We have to test this error. We have to test only authorize modifier, right? We have to test check authorize to make sure it gives us an actual authorize, right? And we can test when that is true and when that's false. This is kind of how you do the unit testing. If everyone, you know, if you've done unit testing before, you know this is kind of how it goes. But for Solidity, it's like, how do you use this multi-sig framework to get it to do this? Hardhat kind of builds that into it to make it easier to do this, but it's basically going to be this format, right? You've got multi-sig framework, you do these describe and it blocks to do tests, and then you test basically everything. Like everything you can change, like every piece of state you can change, you test.
There was some talk on the Discord about using Solidity to do unit testing.
That's for Foundry.
That's Foundry.
And we can
That's
try
Foundry.
that. I mean, we can try it now because we got a half hour to look at what that would. We could do the same
That'd be
test in
interesting.
Foundry.
Yeah.
But is there any? Does anyone want to see any more tests with this? I mean, it's the
See,
same.
like,
It's going to be the
the-
same thing.
The amount of typing involved takes up a lot of time.
It does. That's why I think
That's-
some of these videos it's all pre.
Yeah.
You know, they just copy and paste
They
the
just
stuff so they can move forward. But yeah, that's what's going to eat up all the time. So if you if you have questions on how would you test, like you said, how would you test remove authorizer, right? You have
Yeah.
to switch or if you wanted, I don't think
If
you
your
can.
function requires a message that's interviewing someone else,
Right.
basically. That's how we should do it. But I think we
Yeah,
saw
it's
online,
in here. I would connect. Well, so I would connect with
.connect and then you give it a
the other account, and then engage with that account and make
Okay.
sure that it works. Like if I was doing transfer ownership,
Yeah.
which this contract I didn't do, so you can't actually transfer the owner. So maybe you want to do that. You want to add
Yeah.
that kind of functionality. You can transfer owner.
Good exercise.
So you could do that, but you'd also want to check like if I add an authorizer. As an authorizer, I should be able to remove an authorizer, right? So I
Right.
can add an authorizer, switch accounts, and then
And then
try to
try
do
to
an
remove-
action like that. Yeah.
Remove that.
This is more interesting when the authorizer is connected to a contract, because then you can see like what you can do on that contract as an authorizer or not. But anyway, we would want to check like the events here. You want to check the error, things like that. So if you want to look at what Foundry would do, that's completely different mindset because you have to use Foundry to make Solidity work. So if we want to do that, it's kind of cool. We can walk through it.
Let's do that. Right?
We're gonna do a new folder here. So we have unit, I'm gonna stay in unit testing, sorry. But I'm gonna make, oh shit, I blew that up. Okay. I'm gonna rename unit testing to, I guess, Hardhat because I actually didn't want to do it in there. Move unit testing to So I'll just make a new one here. I should be able to say forge So this is called Foundry, and it's a little weird because Foundry uses Forge as their testing framework, and then Anvil as their network. So it's a little just different nomenclature. Okay, so what do we do?
Download Foundry?
What's that?
You were downloading Foundry?
So you have to install Foundry. Did we all not? So
That was what we did last time, right?
we installed Rust and
Yeah,
and then
installed
installed
Rust, yeah, okay.
Foundry. Okay, so if I do Forge init and then a name, it should give me a new kind of like an SDK here. So let's do Forge init. Let's do Foundry. Same thing. Testing. Hopefully it does it. Okay, what do we got? That was much faster. Okay, so if we look at this, it's going to be this
Kind of the same
thing,
setup.
but not the same kind of setup. Yeah,
Same but different.
same but different. Exactly. I'm going to grab this contract. And let's say we're done with this. All right. In here, we've got scripts as well. We've got our source material and then our test. And if you notice, they're in our tests are in .sol. In Hardhat, they're .js or .ts, so they're going to be JavaScript files. In here, there's
So .t.sol? Oh, that's to say test.
yeah, exactly. So I ran Forge init and then the name of the project, and I was spinning up a new directory of Forge. And so this is weird because if you have a project already and then you want to run like Forge, it's like, well, it's going to be inside. Or you can start with this as your development space. Or same with Hardhat, you can start with that as your development space and then work around that. Okay, so now we have the same thing, source and test. As Nandar said, test is has this .t.sol, which signifies it's a test. I'm going to do the same thing and add our authorizer.
So I can copy from the other directory that file.
So I'll paste it in. Well, we'll see if it yells at us because we have a compiler not downloaded, but maybe it's smart. And then here, their framework is going to be different. You have to inherit your the testing framework from a lot of like infrastructure that they built for you, right? So they tell you that they're importing this Forge standard library called test. It gives you the assertions, right? And then you're also importing your contract. So it's going to be different than.
Do you not have to compile your contract?
It will compile every time.
Oh,
you run
compile
it.
for you.
Yeah. .t.sol. All right, so I'm just going to copy this stuff, same thing we did, and then so this is running 13. Let's see if it.
How come it's not yelling at you on line 4? And for me, it's yelling forge dash standard test.sol is like.
Not installed.
Yeah.
It should be. Is
not
it
found file import.
For Forge standard. Oh, because it should be. Did you have a lib?
Yeah. It's probably like my editor doing something.
Let's try and run it and see if it explodes.
Okay, we'll get to that point. It's just the editor complaining.
Well, but I can't see it. I don't know, maybe it's.
What version of Solidity extension am I using? That's the question.
Authorizer.
Okay.
So, if I try and let's say I'm trying to get to a point where you can run it.
Okay.
And
So I'm gonna do what you're doing, which is gonna replace counter with all the words counter with authorizer.
yeah.
User replace all.
Let's do that. Agree. Well, some of these tests aren't or you don't want to do them in the test because they're not going to work. But let's do test owner. And then we do authorizer.
No.
Owner. And then let's do, so here we're writing in Solidity. So I'm not writing in JavaScript. So I need like, if I'm going to do,
Types.
address owner is what's going to come back, and I want to make sure that our owner is, now here's where it gets fun. We don't have access to all these accounts like we do in Hardhat. So there's this idea that you can prank the EVM to do whatever we want. So what you can do is you can say, the next account that runs is going to be this account. I'll show you what that looks like. Tricking it, exactly. Now I gotta remember how to do that because I don't remember how to do that. Import address, because these aren't helpful either.
What site is that? Foundry?
Getfoundry.sh, and let's go to pranks. Did I get to pranks?
We're doing Foundry now?
Well, we just wanted to see the difference. Adrian was bored, he left, so.
Do you think it's better? You know,
That
use
isn't the
tools.
testing.
They're just tools, right? Just tools. It lives dangerous.
It moves dangerous. He just pushes the main.
Alright.
So that's who artist that just goes straight to.
That's how rich he is.
That's how rich he is,
Burned
man.
all this ETH.
Oh, I
Okay.
have one here. Let's do this one. I cheated. I was trying to figure this out already. Well, I was doing like a real thing here.
What's the name of the guy that you're looking at on that site?
So I went to unit testing on that. So it should be writing tests under tests. // writing tests.
And then
All right, so there's the concept here of pranking your virtual machine to do things that you want it to do. So I'm going to, and I'm going to rename this. So I'm going to create I'll create two addresses called Alice and Bob. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, you can use this idea of prank to identify the next account that runs is going to be the one that I prank, right? So in here, kind of odd, but what we're going to do is we're going to define Alice and Bob as address variables in Solidity.
Oh, okay.
And then I'm just going to give them an address, like Alice is 0x1 and 0x2 is Bob. And then I'm going to say, here's the test for owner right here. I will just move us along here a little bit, but we're going to say,
Who is deploying the contract? Ron is?
so I'm going to say, okay, did you mean where?
authorized. It's authorizer.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
Okay. Oops.
Nice. Authorized or not authorized?
What do we need to say here?
Authorized?
Yeah, the method is authorized. The contract is on. Add authorized. Check authorizer.
Check authorizer. Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
So
sure.
you're asserting that owner is Alice somehow.
Great. I'm getting there, guys. I'm getting there. Okay. All right. So this is weird, but this is how we would do a test for the same test that we did in the other one. Yeah. Let's walk through it.
Okay. How is new authorizer being deployed with Alice or Bob, or Alice in this case, we're assuming? Is 0x1 a special address that's used within the testing runtime?
So here's what's happening here. You can see on 9, I declared Alice as an address.
Internal? What is that?
So that's just the scoping thing. So it's a visibility modifier. Just says only this contract.
Doesn't it default to internal? No.
I think it defaults to public. So if you don't say anything, it'll be public. I think that's what I saw as maybe that's just like the style for their testing. It could be public, doesn't really mean it. Well, unless we make it public and it breaks. For the founder, you have to be internal. So on 9, it's declared. On 13, it's instantiated with the address 0x100000000, right? And then I say, there's a new authorizer, and that authorizer, the owner is going to be owner. This will actually fail because the deploying account, I don't know what that is.
Right.
And I can't dump it.
And you can't set it?
So what you do, let's run this and then see, it should fail, hopefully, forge, test.
Let's hope for failure.
Um,
So if it passes, we fail, right?
Exactly. Incompatible. Okay, so here I have to figure out how to do. Forge is only, oh shit, only 9, 0, 9. Yikes. Alright, it's less than 9. Oh wait, it is less than 9. Oh, maybe.
I need to write your code actually, so let's see here, we got Alice, Bob, cert, the owner address, cert, equal, owner, Alice, and then what do we got? We got 2 other things, which is 2 other cert, true,
Insert true, and then that's just
authorizer, dot,
check authorizer, Alice.
Alice, and then what do we got here? Cert false?
Mm-hmm. Authorizer dot check authorizer Bob.
Check authorizer, Bob, up and down the water.
Incompatible Solidity versions and importers.
Oh, my owner is the wrong owner.
So it failed.
It failed because the owner namespace was wrong. Assert true is not a function because that has to have a T.
Discovering compatible.
Is it not running for you because like setup wise?
Yeah, I think so, but I'm not
Okay,
sure.
so mine failed. Do you want me to just connect on this to show?
It failed, did it? Yeah, did it good?
Yeah.
I'm totally just dying here. Yeah, if you want to connect. So we'll do, I'll show you how to get this to pass. Let's see the failure.
Okay.
I'll probably next week, I'll tell you why it failed.
Boom, boom. That's the wrong. Okay. I need a mirror.
It doesn't retarget.
Mirror, mirror,
Makes it just
mirroring.
Oh, you know why? It's not this.
That is horrible.
It's this one.
Display preferences. Can anyone see my screen?
Yes.
Display settings. I cannot see it because
Oh,
you
it's
guys
really-
can.
Okay, so I was having a problem because my contract had 0818 and my test contract had 08. I was jumping around with it. So if you match those, you have to match your
What is your contract has to match
the
your
test contract.
the test contract?
Yeah.
Done. Okay, cool.
Okay, so he's using 13. I don't know if it goes above 13. I
Okay.
just got it to work for 13, but
That's fine.
good? Okay.
So 1 failed.
Can you look at your T, which one are we in? T or, oh, we're in the test, right? Can you look at your Solidity contract? Oh, it's okay. Huh. Okay, anyway, I don't know. The test contract is using 13 and the deploy contract is 17. I don't know that, because we're inheriting this, I don't know if it's going above 13, so just FYI, if you're getting weird stuff, maybe it's the pragma for the test. Okay, so now what we want to say here is, when I call this, I want to call the owner,
Yeah.
deploy, new authorizer. I want to say when, how do we want to do this? Basically, I want to say the next person that makes a transaction, I want it to be Alice. And the way we do that was we call this like magic little cheat code that's called VM, which gives us access to the virtual machine, dot prank, and then we give it, I think it's dot
Prank is really.
yeah, it is, because you have to like, you call it a prank, you prank their system to say, did I write these in here? I didn't write- Yeah, okay, and then you do prank
Owner.
and then Alice, or owner, right?
Mm.
Okay, so what this is gonna do is it's gonna say whoever makes the next transaction, make it Alice.
Oh, okay.
So
So, you have to
then-
do this every time you want to switch.
Well, we could
The message does
we
that.
could maybe did we get it? No, what happened?
Let's read it. Reason, assertion failed. Okay.
Oh, we don't have any gas. That's the problem. Like Alice doesn't have any gas.
Let's gas up Alice.
Okay, so Alice can't make that because she doesn't have any gas associated with this like environment that we just spun up. So,
Okay, so Foundry is
Literally
faster in a way, but also it takes longer to set up.
well,
Is that like what the trade-offs are?
this is just a quirky, like testing an owner, like a deployer, is just quirky. Everything else would be, I'm doing something to the contract and I test it.
Yeah.
So those are much faster, but trying to like do this
Still
quirky,
would need gas though, right, to test like changing state within the contract?
if you're like making these addresses, well, no, like the ones that, if you're just like using the ideas, it's gonna give you, so Sam, if you, can you go back to your other thing? So instead of can you just comment these out? Like don't do prank, like just comment out prank and then just run test owner, maybe without the asserts, just like these, just to see that, can you run it again? Just to see if whoever deploys it can do it. Yeah, we're
Whoever
fine.
deploys it does.
So like whatever it gives you access to has access to
Okay.
that. And I think I'm trying to find it here, but I think what I did is I
not
sent
taking
some
up
value.
a significant amount of the screen. Like all of these elements.
Did you put add?
Should.
Address 0 is working.
Yeah, address 0 is I think they,
Well,
I think that's
So
what
let me go ahead and change this to.
oh no, actually that's not the case,
so I've
because,
got the wrapper right there.
So now you're gonna say Alice.
Okay, that's good. Go ahead and try that.
so the deployer,
Is this?
No.
so the deployer contract,
So we thought that
or the address
yeah,
0
okay.
is, I dumped it, and it's
and
like
then-
0x1804, so it's like something.
Yeah.
You don't know that unless you dump it, so
Doing
what they want you to do instead of doing stuff
on
like
these
this,
things.
is
And like clearly
to
they're
do
getting
this idea of this
sort of
prank,
so with
right? Like
why is
change
the
the
whole thing so
address to
small?
0,
Yeah.
and then
See
run
what I
something,
mean?
and then you
Yeah.
can
What's
test
over
that you
here?
have control
Is there a margin
address.
That you have
right,
switched.
Okay.
That's the weird kind of setup for checking things, is like,
Okay.
that's how you would, to answer your question, how do you switch accounts and
Yeah.
test something? In Foundry, because it's Solidity, what you're doing is you're saying, okay system, the next, I'm gonna
The next
give
person
you a
is.
hack, yeah, the next person is
Is another
address
person.
0, right?
Okay.
And then, the other stuff is, it's all,
I'm not quite understanding though, like,
Forcing.
Yeah,
are we
It's
trying
fair.
to,
Yeah.
are we trying to prank
Um,
the VM address saying,
trying
hey,
to
change
do
it,
with the-
you're running
oh, there it
me,
is.
and you're
Trying
running
to
with
do
some
with-
address,
for
right?
some
You're
reason it's
calling new authorizer,
You want
right?
that?
Mhm.
You want to
And
set
you have
the
some
limit to
address, the
100%.
VM has some address, and we're saying, okay, switch that out to Alice, and
right,
it's failing here because there's no gas in Alice, like there's no ETH, and it's trying to spend it,
right.
but you're saying that we can't do that, so how do we get any use out of this, is what I'm trying to
What's it
figure
here?
out.
So this is,
Is it
oh no, I see what you're
That's
saying,
just the
I
bottom.
don't know why it's,
Can
like
we-
you would say,
can we give Alice gas?
you can, and I was
Either
trying to
cloud,
figure, cause I did this
he's,
before, and I was trying to figure out,
he's-
like, you can
let's try to
send,
do-
Alice gas
Okay,
from,
'cause, yeah,
Oh, that's an idea.
Not
Do
actually.
you know
finding
how
it
they
helpful.
use
Ah,
call
okay.
to send value
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
modules? You
You
can do the
have
same
to.
thing here.
Let's try that, so we got,
Hey, Cloud?
this, address, this dot send, call, and then value, let's give like 1 ETH, I'm hoping it's the value, it's
Do you have to put it away?
E10, is that right?
I think it's 10. Is it 10 or 18?
I think it's 18,
It's probably 18.
but I don't know if that's the right annotation. Okay, let's give that a try. Now Alice should, to Alice, we gotta pay to Alice, right?
Will be sufficiently scared.
Do you have to say to Alice? Or you could just put Alice in there?
Hey, did we got one warning and one?
I thought you'd have to put it in the call, right? To, like where the value is?
No, that should work, right? Oh, and then you need just, that should work too.
Yeah,
Like that?
Oh, I see.
is that right?
I have no idea.
Could
Also, when you put it in the parentheses, you put it in quotes, so maybe
Yeah,
just typing in the
it just
variable.
says there's two, double quote, like if you're not sending any
Yeah.
data with it.
Yeah.
But I don't have to do this with mine, so I will research this a little more, but do we like this?
Valid options are salt, value, and gas. Unknown call option 2.
Okay, so 2's not right.
I thought it was.
You should be.
I thought address dot.
Oh, what you're gonna do is you're gonna do address Alice called out. Isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's address out, not this. 'Cause this would be referred to this.
I'm making the transaction and I'm saying the address I'm sending it to is Alice and I'm giving
This
it
is,
value.
the syntax is so weird.
Well, this is not how you do this normally.
Oh,
You
okay.
would use this like dot send
Oh,
or
there's
dot
like an easier
transfer.
way.
Yeah, there's like
Oh.
dot transfer.
Dot transfer and send were like directly was what I found.
Send, you can still do them.
Yeah.
Transfer, you use transfer because it's protected. It won't allow like it maxes out the amount of gas you can use. So you can't do like recursive calls.
Oh, we need a return value. I think we're getting somewhere, guys.
And then the thing that's weird though is I didn't send Alice any money, and she's able to do all these things in mine. So I'll look into this next week. I'll say like
For
I don't
sure.
think we need to do this, but for now,
Put it on the Discord.
you don't need to do the check either. But that's good that you check it. You do want to do that. So did it work or no? Did it still go? Hey, it worked. Okay, perfect. Okay, this was pretty clunky, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's a way around this because I didn't do it.
But-
But we got through the
got
test, and you can see how. I mean, this is like proper way to check that a transaction like succeeded in that call chain there. You know, if you're not doing this and returning it.
Yeah.
See you, have a good day. If you're not returning this, like back out,
Yeah.
you can, drop
You can
errors and things like
something will
this.
revert, but it won't look as if it passed.
And then, exactly, and then so the thing that's really, I wanted to show y'all is that this is kind of the way that's, you have to get around doing the testing in Foundry. If you want to switch accounts, you use this idea of prank. And you can start the prank, have Alice call a whole bunch of stuff, and then stop the prank, and then it reverts back to.
How do you stop prank? VM?
So if you write, if you do vm.start prank, it will be Alice.
How do I get
I
this?
don't know why it's doing that, because it's obviously working.
I want
because
type
it's
checking. I want to be able to go VM dot and see something, you know?
Right.
But my Solidity thing is by Juan. And
That's interesting.
is that yours? Is yours
See
from
what
Juan? I don't know.
I
I'm just saying, like,
don't know.
what's the extension you're using? Because I'm thinking it could be that. He's got a lot of loops.
Somebody's gotta help me set up my Discord. It's all messed up.
Juan. I'm also using this. No, I'm not. That's not.
One for
Solidity Hardhat. Well, it wouldn't be that. The Foundry does have a linter.
Do you have Foundry?
So you can use that if maybe that, but I don't have it, and mine isn't yelling at me. So I know that was kind of a little bit of a clumsy way to describe it all to you, but
Yeah, it makes some sense.
so
though.
Sam, if you would just indulge me for a second. So instead of writing vm.prank, you could write start prank, and it's not, and you wanted to show you. And then if you go, and then you could do vm.stop prank. And then everything in between that will be Alice.
Oh, okay.
So you can like start it, do some stuff, stop it, and then switch it
Do we
if you
get
want.
console.log?
Yeah, you do, but you have to, okay, so do that, make this nice. You can get rid of that because it's like
Okay.
whatever.
And
Okay.
let me actually do this as well. Let's see.
Oh, so we got the assert owner, yes, all the time.
And then we're gonna change that to this address. This. I want to see.
Okay, great. So
That
this is a
logs.
good point. You get access to logging, but it won't show it to you. Oh, why? This is what that VV thing was.
Oh.
So do hyphen VV. No, VV. It's not verbose. You're just gonna have to deal with it. So here we go. Okay, so you can do VV up to like VVVV.
What is
Fine. It gives you different amounts of intelligence into the call. Like
verbosity.
yeah, the degree of how much you want, how verbose
Dash
this
is
thing
like regular, I'm guessing, or
I
maybe
think
low
it's
level?
VV to 5. Anyway, it doesn't matter. To get logs to print, which no one
Dash.
tells you,
Dash VV.
VV, and then you can see, did it,
It doesn't say anything.
I know, it's like
Now
these
what?
things. Can you run it again, Sam? Let's see, where did you want? You wanted
Got
this log.
zero.
Oh, so we got 2 and that, right? So that's Alice, or 1. Sorry, I said 0x1, 0, 0. It's actually 0x0 and then 1. And then, yeah, that's the person.
That's the contract address.
That's
whoever's-
0x1 is not 0x1 and then
It's all
zeros at the end.
Yeah.
It's actually 0x00001 or however many zeros you want because that is.
Well, not how many zeros you want. It has to be 32.
I mean, for an
That's
address.
Right. But it's gonna be an address.
For the hex.
Yeah.
What's the second address? That's the.
You just called this like who?
I just addressed this to kind of introspect and see who's running this.
and
is
this is.
Yeah, it's gonna be every time. Oh, this is the contract.
That's the address of the contract.
It's this contract.
Yeah.
That contract.
Yeah.
Okay. The current contract. The
Contract
test
is called,
contract.
yeah, the test contract. Yeah, that's a little confusing, but it's so just keep in mind, you wrote a contract to write
To
do
write
tests.
testing.
So everything that you every
So
kind
every
of this is going
is
to
the
be
contract.
the test
The
contract.
test contract.
And that's just like the paradigm difference between solidity testing and then Hardhat testing. Is
And
you write
VM's
the
got to be a contract that is
They're
deployed.
all contracts.
Yeah.
Everything's a
Yeah. So
contract.
VM's got to be a contract that Forge is deploying,
So
and then
Crank
it's
is
giving somehow I'm getting access to it through this import. I'm guessing.
Yeah, if you go into the library, I'll just say this. If you go into the this Forge standard library, you see test is a solidity.
Yeah.
Oh,
Contract. It's all solidity. Everything's solidity.
solidity.
Forge standard. So it's saying it's not available. Maybe I need an app.
No,
Did you install
no,
it?
you're good there. It might be how it got installed. Because it does these translations for you. So it might be the fact that it's in there. It says it's giving you access to these things. It might be how it installed. I'm not quite sure. We should probably look into that.
So with this, you can go to the definition here and get to that. But for whatever reason, my editor was saying this isn't a file, and I joined it. It's like no file, but it really is a file because
You're working with it, right?
Well,
Yeah.
it ran. I mean, he pulled
He's
it
running
ran,
it,
so
yeah.
my editor's not resolving this, but the runtime of Forge is resolving it correctly. So I need to tell my editor, hey, resolve this.
Resolve.
I haven't figured that out though, but that's the whole other thing is getting tools. for
Well, there is a Forge VS Code extension, so maybe that I didn't install it, so I don't know what.
I need to see how it's working on
But you can see that it's a whole different mindset in
Yeah.
doing this, and these tests are going to run faster.
It seems more.
You're not going over you're not serializing over
Yeah.
a network, even though the network's on the same machine. You're still serializing JavaScript and then turning that into some bytecode that goes to some
Yeah.
RPC server. Well, actually, it turns into an JSON, goes over RPC server, and then it runs
And then it runs.
returns. And there's like this bottleneck there.
It-
So
It
I
just
feel
depends
like,
what you. There's no right or wrong here. It's just, do you want to stay in Solidity or do you want to stay in JavaScript? And so just wanted y'all to know that there's another testing.
What do
idea.
most people do? Solidity?
They're trying to. There's an effort here to try and get people to write Solidity codes because it's written in Solidity. But
That makes sense.
you know, this is an industry push. This company that developed this is a VC. So
Which one?
Paradigm XYZ.
And
So
they
it's the one
are-
that Chad likes, this transmission guy is a part of, and all that stuff. They're just trying to say that the code is written in Solidity, so the unit test should be in Solidity.
That makes sense, you know.
I mean, yeah.
It will give you more. The thing I guess I would say I prefer this only because when I'm manipulating stuff to do tests, I'm writing Solidity, so it
Yeah.
reinforces Solidity.
That's
When
what I
I'm
was-
doing it in JavaScript, I'm reinforcing like how am I doing this in Java? Like how do I
Yeah.
do an async, a for loop async where it
Right.
waits for me? You know, that's where my brain is, and so it's up to you. But I will say that there are a couple projects that have done this, but now Arbitrum just launched or just previewed their stylus. I guess it's a virtual machine where you can write in low-level languages that will compile to EVM code. So you can write this in Rust or
yeah.
C.
Congrats on week 6, everybody.
What is it?
Yes.
Week 6.
You made it.
I'll see you
Oh,
guys
congrats on
next
week
week.
Yeah, thank
I think
you.
we're gonna do a last send off front end workshop.
Yeah, we should do the live deploy. Like the live deploy.
Wait, is next weekend the last weekend?
Yeah, the last in person for us.
So when do we get to show and tell like week 7 stuff? Or
So week 7 that's the final, which is due the week after on the 25th, and that's the where you kind of you submit it as, it's kind of mirrored after if you would submit to a hackathon. So you'd submit the form, you'd submit the URL for the live deployed app, you'd submit your video, and then we review it all. And we don't do the live pitch. We should do the live pitch, but I think we just didn't plan on, because ETH Denver is next week, we're going to lose half of the people, half of the mentors and then half of some of the students. So we're not going to do the live component of the pitch.
Next week, the project or the thing that you're supposed to be doing is the actual project for that week. There's no other
Week
project.
7 is the final project.
Build your own thing.
It like goes into week 8.
Your own adventure?
Yeah, exactly. But there's no like project 7. It's just project 7 is going to go over proxy contracts, governance, and then that week's project is the final, which is kind of like goes into week 8.
Yeah. Oh, so week 8 is actually a thing?
It's not a thing. It's just the final. And then you just have to do like a Hardhat like a Hardhat call with governance, which I will show. But then there's no like build an indexer. It's just do your final project.
There's a governance thing to do at the end of the week.
It's like a Hardhat thing where you write the contract, you deploy it, and then you do a vote. It's kind of similar to escrow, where you like have the escrow contract, you deploy it, and you interact with it a little bit.
Kind of like what I did with my thing, where you have multiple hardwares.
But it's nowhere near, like you don't have to build anything, you just have to like do a Hardhat script call. And you just like write a vote, basically. You don't have to build the front end, there's no front end for it, you don't have to like build the front end to do the voting, you just have to interact with the contract.
So, final project guidelines. Interesting. I feel like, is there a week 7 project in Alchemy?
It's like, so for this week, for week 6, there's a bucket challenge, and then there's the indexers. For week 7, it's the governance contract, nothing. And that nothing is
week 8.
Is the week 8 final project, but there's no week 8, so it's just.
It's interesting how we have to do the week 8 without having the week 9.
For it, or you could look at it like modulate.
Yeah, but like
And then
if
there's
you look
nothing
at
in module.
if you look at the calendar here, tomorrow, this next week, that's going to be the last week to do governance and week 8. Go through all the modules. Whereas like if we did week 7's done, now week 8 is give us a week to do.
Yes, absolutely.
Hope not.
No. I mean, I think that's good criticism going forward.
Yeah.
This should have been slotted as 8.
Yeah.
But what happened was we didn't know what the modules 6 and 7 were when we started. So we kind of had to say, all right, there's 7 modules, we'll do 7 weeks. And we're off by 1, right? We started with looking at like doing week 1.
Everyone's going to be in ETH Denver on the 25th anyway.
Right. Most people are.
So why not give submissions due by 4th?
You should tell us. Yes.
Because then at least we have like, all right, you finished this.
There's a little bit of
like now use all your
closure
skills.
Yeah. I agree.
Okay.
Greg, how are you with your final? Did you kind of figure one out, or
Not at all.
still want to do the orgs?
Yeah, I'm still pretty irritated about that. But,
I felt the irritation.
yeah. I mean, it's a Solidity course. I've spent more time on goddamn React than I have on fucking Solidity. I'm not super happy about that.
We can do. I mean, I'm happy to. I think next week I asked Cloud to do. I mean, this is probably not necessarily of interest to you, but just to make sure that there's a workshop on deploying a live demo. just because we're requiring it. But in addition to that, if we want to do like an advanced Solidity workshop where we're like the whole next week is governance, contract upgradability, proxy contracts, governance, and those are kind of somewhat advanced just because you have multiple contracts you're dealing with. But if we want to do like a workshop where we're like get into like the really like the gritty things that happen with Solidity, I mean, I'm happy to do that. The problem is trying to get, for people who are just being introduced to Solidity, they're very light on delving into it in this particular courseware. So it's like, okay, well,
I'm new to it too.
once you get it, there's like all these like little gotchas all over the place.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to do like an advanced. That's why I kind of wanted to do these like testing and things where you're getting your hands a little bit more around Solidity.
Yeah.
But I think that's a criticism of some of us as well. Is like this week for week 6, your project is a front end project. And we're in like Solidity Core.
And so was the week before that.
We're not doing like
all of the projects.
Right.
Well, not all of them. That's not fair.
But there are
Most of them have
but
been.
for this week, all of the modules are Solidity. So we
Yeah,
do
which
that.
I've been enjoying that.
And it's I think as Ethereum has developed, they've noted the community or whatever the movement has noticed. Great, you can make these like little contracts, but no one can interact with them.
Yeah.
So then everybody kind of leaned on, well, once you know how to do this, you have to also know how to write a front end for it because that's how everybody communicates with these things. So there's been this pressure to like get everybody. All like the hackathons are like, okay, spin up React, write your contract, deploy it to testnet, and then let the judge, do a demo. And so I think this course is leaning on that more, rather than what it could be anything, but it also could be like security auditing for Solidity. Like, how do you what are the big pitfalls? Like, how do you protect against reentrancy? How do you do this? How do you do that? The proxies are going to be kind of cool, and if you want to do like a more in-depth, like advanced Solidity, like just talking about it, the proxies are kind of cool because you're actually that concept. I don't know if you're familiar with it. There's different ideas about it, but basically you're just interacting with this blank contract pretty much, and that contract points somewhere else. And there's some gotchas with how you store things in the contract storage layout that can screw you over. There was just a big exploit with one of these things, but that's kind of a little bit more interesting of like how do you do a little bit more complicated things with Solidity?
Yeah.
And with those types of things, I think